All right, everyone, welcome back to the weekly wrap up and the weekly overview. I just want to first begin by saying thank you for being patient with me last week. I apologize for being sick. I mean, there's nothing I could do to avoid it per se, but I apologize that I happened to have had that happen in between this semester, and I hope it didn't detract or deter anybody from their learning this last week by not doing these videos or giving you maybe some extra insight into some of these ideas. I just ended up catching the fall cold that seems to be going around, and then it eventually, for me, progressed to bronchitis, and I just got worse and worse and worse. So I just want to say I appreciate you being patient. From what I saw in the discussions, it looks like everything is still running smoothly, and everybody seems to be understanding the concepts and learning the things they need to learn. So it's good to see that the class is still moving forward. So in that regard, I want to just again commend you on your discussion posts. The purpose of this class is to develop a strong philosophy grounded in theoretical research and foundations. And so a lot of you may have some predispositions already to how you would like to manage your classroom, but now I'm really starting to see your philosophies blossom in your posts. You're really starting to solidify, I would manage my classroom this way because of this, and some of these theories and ideas are shaping your thinking, and that's great. That's the purpose of this class. Also, don't forget either, don't just kind of, with your peer response, while it's good to kind of solidify or even, what's the word I'm thinking of, to contribute, I guess, or to praise someone and say, hey, I really like your idea, I really like that thinking, that's beneficial. Don't be afraid to challenge and critique each other. It's also good to really critically think about our philosophies and throw our philosophies out there and let others critically examine them to strengthen our philosophies and our positions as to why we choose to manage a classroom a certain way. So keep in mind when you do your peer post, it's okay to respond critically. You don't have to be mean, but in a way just to get people to challenge the way they're thinking and justify the way they're thinking so that we can all walk out of here feeling very strong about how we're going to manage our classrooms. In terms of the assignment on the general classroom management strategy, I gave everybody credit, but I'm a little worried about the approach that was done. I really want to make sure that you followed my model and lived up to the expectation of that management strategy. The purpose of that assignment is so that you can get some practical tools in your belt from not just your own research, but then from others, so that you feel a little bit more equipped with some ideas and practical strategies, that you can use in the classroom. So my post talked about the context. Classroom management is not in a vacuum, right? It's always tied to some type of an instructional, situational, contextual aspect. And so I just want you to keep in mind when the next time we do this assignment, please introduce the context of why this strategy would be needed or what's going on that would cause a need for this strategy to be employed. Because if the strategy is just there, it's just a strategy, but without recognizing how that strategy, its justification, why it would be needed, it really doesn't help us very much. And then second, really describe the strategy. Talk about how to use it, what the purpose for it is, how it's helping in that context. And then the third part was to really talk about the 4 purposes of classroom management back to the beginning of the semester. How does this strategy ensure a safe classroom? How does this strategy help correct behavior? How does this strategy keep progression of events in your classroom moving, in a nice flow? And then more importantly, how does this strategy connect to instruction and contribute to positive student behavior? So next time we do this, just make sure that those 3 things are there. A lot of posts had those. Some of them were a little watered down in that regard. If you're worried about it and you want some specific feedback, did my post do that, did not, just shoot me an email, I'll let you know. I don't want to give a blanket statement and make everybody feel like they did it right or wrong. Everybody got credit, we're fine. I just want to make sure that we follow that so that we can walk out of this classroom with not only a toolbox really of general strategies to manage a classroom, and then the next time we do it, I'm going to pair you up in content areas and have your content groups talk about some specific strategies you can use in an English classroom, a science classroom, just so you have some tools and ideas for more practical use. Okay, so this week, in a nutshell, first thing you want to do is you want to read Chapter 5. We're going to talk about ecological approaches. As always, you're going to have a discussion thread that you need to kind of critically think about these ideas. I gave you some questions to consider. My first question I want you to consider, I just want to explain what I meant. Micro and macro, there's issues that Kunin brings up in his model that we as teachers affect, well, his whole philosophy and theory really is that we as teachers affect the environment. Our behaviors can affect the environment. And our job is to make sure that the entire environment, the ecology, I guess, of the classroom is working and running smoothly. So he talks about some positive things that teachers do to make that happen. He also talks about some negative things that teachers do that cause that to break down. What I want you to consider in terms of the negative side, because obviously we wouldn't do anything negative, but you'd be really surprised when you read some of these how often these things kind of accidentally, or if we're not aware or careful, can creep into our instruction. So I'll give you an example. Jerkiness happens to the best of teachers, where a lesson just isn't flowing well. And sometimes, as we consider why that happens, we can obviously then minimize it ever happening again. And there can be some simple factors as, well, I was really confused on this lesson. I really wasn't prepared as well as I should be. Maybe I was too focused on managing student behavior instead of trying to, keep the class. Well, there's a lot of different things I want you to consider as to why that happens and how you can best prepare to ensure it doesn't happen. But I also want you to consider that there are some macro influences as well. So today I'm in my class, I'm teaching a great lesson, the flow is there, the students are engaged, things are working, and the phone rings and the office needs me. Somebody pages and all of a sudden they need a student to come up. A student aide walks in and needs a student to go to the dean's office. The fire drill goes off. All these things can disrupt instruction and create this jerkiness. Now, some of them you obviously can't control. The fire drill happens, it happens. But there are some things you can control. Like when you get back to class, how are you going to ensure quick jump right back into instruction? So those are things I want you to consider when you consider that first discussion question. So read chapter 5, discussion question. We're doing our second teacher observation. This time I have a video for all of you to watch and some questions to consider. I really want you to look at this video from all the theories we've kind of talked about thus far. And I have some guiding questions there for you. So you have the discussion, you have the teacher observation, read the chapter. I'll put the PowerPoint up. Again, that's optional for those of you that want to maybe listen to me blab on about additional ideas. That's there. You don't have to watch that. And I think that's about it for this week. I look forward to, again, being a part of your discussions and seeing how you're continuing to strengthen your philosophy on classroom management. And I will talk to you next week. Thanks.